Hello, everybody. It is Jonathan, and it is actually almost to the end of Thursday. And I'm sure you've noticed that I did not actually post a a midweek update yesterday. I did record it, but I did not like how it came out, and I'm not going to post something that I'm not comfortable showing, or at least being live. Um, Now I know I've done a couple other videos where I've just, done basically like a stream of consciousness type thing and recorded my thoughts. Um, but, well, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do right now. Um, as you can tell by the title and by the interview that's actually linked in the description, uh, Warlords of Draenor is effectively ending after patch 6.2. There are no more major content patches apparently going to be added to the game. Uh, 6.2.x, whatever it winds up being called, is when they're going to add in flying. But past that, the expansion is effectively over. You're welcome to listen to the interview that Corey Stockton, one of the developers at Blizzard, did for World of Warcraft. But I'm going to address those problems right now. So if you don't want the end of the expansion spoiled for you, you might want to turn it off. Um, basically, um, this ties into a tweet that was sent out by Blizzard, last week, I think. Week before last, somewhere around there. Um, Archimond in Hellfire Citadel, the one that the final boss of the raid, is actually the same one that players have already killed. Um, by same one, I don't mean this is a younger version. I don't mean we've traveled back in time. I mean this is the exact same one that we've killed in Mount Hyjal. Apparently, he has just never gone away. Um, that seems to be an ability that the Eridar have now developed. It used to be one that the excuse me, only the Dreadlords had. You kill them and then they recede back into the Twisted Nether. But no, according to Blizzard, right now, the Twisted Nether binds together all realities. And if you ever played through Karazhan and you've gotten to Malchazar at the end of it, he says, all realities, our dimensions are open to me. That's the only other reference we've had to an Eridar, basically being eternal. They're there all the time. Um, near as I can tell, Blizzard is actually connecting that with what's happened in Warlords of Draenor, and that is to say that uh, things are kind of fucked up. Um, apparently, what seems to be happening, at least story-wise, is Gul'dan has failed, uh, and the Legion knows that he's failed in at least two realities right now. And, well, um, yeah, he's failed. So the Legion's probably going to be coming back again at some point in time. And if you have seen the end cinematic for Hellfire Citadel, which is already in the game, you see Archimond falling over dead, and he yells to Gul'dan, who's staring at the portal, the dark portal, which has been rebuilt. It was rebuilt to summon Archimond on Draenor. He basically destroys Gul'dan, and he says, "You made a pact," and then he quote unquote dies. And then what happens after that is Khadgar walks over and is just staring at the portal, and Uriel walks over, and there's this big moment, where Khadgar is like, I think it's over. I don't know. Whatever. Like, it's a real letdown to watch this cinematic considering the fact that Blizzard has promised for about 2 years now that the final boss would be Grom Hellscream. Turns out, nope, it's not. It's Archimon because 6.2 is the last patch of the expansion that's announced, and that's excluding, the mini patch where we're going to get flying. And since 6.2 is really nothing more than a continuation of 6.1, basically Warlords of Draenor has been the release patch and has been the one patch after that, 6.1. Effectively, we're playing the exact same game we got in the beginning of the expansion. Blizzard has decided, again, all this is in the interview, by the way. Blizzard has decided that what's going to happen is that the next expansion that could possibly be coming out at some point in time will carry on things that they have enjoyed being in this expansion. And the things that they've enjoyed being in the expansion all seem to revolve around players having followers and your garrison, which no one seems to like because killed um, it killed the idea that there was going to be a faction hub. And since that was already planned on being added into Ashran, Storm Shield and whatever the hell the horror one is, I forgot the name of it, it's not important right now. Anyway, that was already planned to be there. Blizzard did away with the idea of Carivore and Bladespire Citadel. So everybody was basically given, your Ashran city and then given your garrison. And all content was focused around the garrison, so everyone is shoved there. And thus far, the only people who've actually gotten any excuse to leave that is the raiders. And the raid groups who have been working on Hellfire Citadel, or at least those who have had the spoiler from the cinematic, understand this is it. This is fucking it. Supposedly there was going to be more about the legendary ring, but Blizzard already announced when 6.2 came out, that's it. There's nothing else being added to the ring. There's no more quests being added. There's nothing being done other than us being given flying in an expansion that no one's going to be playing for a while. And when I say no one's going to be playing, what I mean is that the 3 million people who quit already are going to be seeing more people leaving. And that's kind of bad. Now, before I get off on an even larger tangent about this, understand that there was more that Corey Stockton discussed in the interview, and again, it's linked in the description of this video. Please go watch it. But the 6.2 being it is the big thing. Like that's the major thing that's in there. There was a discussion about why Tanan Jungle seems to be so messed up for a lot of people, and I don't know if anyone who's watching this has been to Tanan and realized, oh, hey, there's a phasing issue going on. But that's not actually phasing. Tanan actually has multiple versions of it running at once, and Blizzard surprised everybody with this and decided to shove everyone into different versions of Tanan. And you can see the same general chat, you can see the world emotes from the rare spawns and everything else, but you're in a different version of it. And that was done to try and delay server lag and then player disconnections, because they didn't want 10,000 people or whatever in one version of Tanan by itself. And Corey discusses in the interview that they're going to continue that. And again, it's causing problems with people disconnecting. It's causing major lag, and it's a big concern, and that's not going to be answered. What else is not going to be answered is Asheran is not going to be changed. We're not getting any new battlegrounds, so people who PvP, you're stuck with Asheran. You've been stuck with Asheran this little expansion, and you're going to be stuck with it. And everyone else, people who are not doing mythic dungeons or raiding or are not doing anything at all other than their Tanan dailies. If you're not already exalted, and most people seem to be getting exalted a lot quicker than Blizzard intended, the estimated time to get exalted was 2 to 3 weeks. And yesterday I actually got revered, so I'm less than a week away. Like, I mean, the only reason to get exalted with the factions non, the Saber Stalkers and whatever else is there, I forgot. The only reason to get the grip with them is to get Draenor Pathfinder, and that's already been gotten by 2 people I know off a fan that are not me. So that's 3 people I know total who've already got it. You just need revered for that, and it took less than a week to get it. But there's not going to be anything else at it. It's going to be the same daily Apexis missions over and over and over and over and over. The only real benefit to getting the crystals, other than the baleful gear tokens, is to get the mount. But that's 150,000 tokens, and if you've been doing your dailies every day and you have a mage tower, like a lot of people switch to just to get the bonus Apexis crystals to try and get capped, you're going to reach that really quickly. And then after that, there's no reason to go. Sure, you can get all the treasures there, but because you have to do a daily quest where you go find 10 treasures or 10 special things every day, most of those have already been found. So Tanan is just everything that's been done in Warlords thus far, all shoved into one zone, and that's kind of, it's not even kind of bad, it's really bad. It's a letdown. In fact, to me, for sure, I don't know about anyone else, but it's a genuine letdown to me, especially since the comparison was actually made to Wrath of the Lich King, and the idea that Wrath of the Lich King and Warlords of Draenor are compatible, and they're just fucking not. I'm sorry, they're not. Anyone I know who played Wrath when it was current content will tell you, no, Wrath of the Lich King is probably the best expansion World of Warcraft has ever had. Sure, it lasted for a long time, and sure, we had, an extended period of time raiding in Icecrown Citadel, but compare the, what was it, about 8 months, I think, for Icecrown Citadel to the, I think it was 15 months of Siege of Orgrimmar. 15 goddamn months? And after the Lich King was down, there was another raid added in. Like, there was a whole other raid just thrown together over the course of, I guess, a weekend. I'm not sure how long it took the designer to be Sanctum, but it was thrown together and added to the game to give people something else to do. With the end of Mr. Pandaria, we had over a year of there being nothing else. Nothing else at all. And Warlords releases, and Draenor is gorgeous. It's beautifully designed. I have no issues with how it's designed. I have no problem with the leveling experience, except that it's nearly identical for every goddamn character you send there. And I have got upwards of 20 characters that I need to get into Draenor or who are already there. And it's nearly the exact same for every one of them. And then to be told that there's not going to be anything else added after 6.2, honestly, it makes me not want to play. It makes me want to quit right now. And I realize, that may just me be overreacting to it and me being upset by it, but it's the truth. There's nothing else apparently being added. And sure, now I'll get to fly in Draenor on every character I have level 90 or above, but that's a letdown. I mean, they're all going to the same end. It's going to be month after month after month of Apex missions. And I would be fine with that if we were looking at, 2 or 3 months of it. That would be okay. I'm not raiding right now, so I have nothing else to do. I'm not going to go sit in Ashran all day because no one seems to win Ashran anymore because no one cares. Everyone stopped going. The PvP community seems to have been choked to death over Ashran, and the announcement that 6.2 meant that you had to go there again or do rated battlegrounds seems to have killed it. I have not seen anyone in Ashran this past week, and that's sad because the week before that you could see people there randomly because they had to go, but now it's Ashran or fuck you. Um, but no, I'm not doing much anymore. I'm doing a couple dungeons every now and then. Uh, I'm not running LFR. I don't give a shit about LFR anymore. I've stopped caring. I'm not doing the raids. No dungeons. I'm. It's sad. Like, but all I do every day is log in, do my garrison stuff, and then go to Tanan, do the dailies, and then that's it. That's it. That's the extent of my World of Warcraft playing right now, and that's what everyone else seems to be doing. So to be told that that's it, that's all we're going to get, infuriates me. It genuinely makes me angry to be told by Blizzard that they're just not going to listen. But the, I guess, saving grace of this that Corey Stockton discussed in the interview is it's not really even a saving grace, to be honest. Um, Assuming that this is going to be it, and because this is all the evidence we have is that 6.2 is it. It's finished, over, done. There's nothing else being added to the game past 6.2. What that indicates to me is that we're going to have, it's 5 months away from BlizzCon, and that's traditionally when Blizzard has announced their new expansions. So 5 months of going to Tanan Jungle every day on X number of characters and doing the exact same thing I can do at any other point in time and anywhere else in any other zone of the game. And that's what we're all facing. We're all stuck with that. So we're going to have that for at least 5 more months. And then assuming the expansion is actually announced at BlizzCon, we're going to have at least 2 months, 2 to 3 months before the game actually goes into beta, like basic beta testing, the end of alpha testing and the end of beta testing. Usually, they will not announce an expansion unless it's already about to enter the alpha stages. So you're going to have 2 or 3 months of that, and then you're going to have open beta. So at least 6 months of that, because usually it ends up being 4 to 6 months. So we're looking at right now. Let's see, that was going to be 8 months or so of beta testing plus 5, 11 months. 11 months before the new expansion comes out. And because it's likely to be timed with the upcoming Warcraft movie, because Blizzard wants to get more people to play the game, then we're going to wait upwards of the length of time that we had to deal with goddamn Siege of Orgrimmar. So we're looking at least a year, assuming that nothing changes and this is the end. We're looking at least a year until anything else changes. Until anything else is genuinely added to the game, and that's mind blowing to me. It kind of hurts my feelings to be told that this is all we're going to get. Archimonde's dead. Gul'dan is missing. Nothing else for the legendary. No more dungeons. No more versions of the dungeons. Time walking dungeons. Oh shit! I need to get into the time walking dungeons because I don't know if anyone's done them, but I'll say that for a minute. Okay, no new battlegrounds, no new raids. Archimonde's dead. Gul'dan's missing. Nothing else is legendary, and months and months and months and months and months of the same dailies over and over again. That's boring. That's boring. It's going to make people leave. And I realized, like we discussed in one of the earlier shows, um, Nick actually mentioned that Blizzard is probably made the decision that if they're going to make money off of World of Warcraft, it needs to be right now because the movie's coming out. And that's okay from a business standpoint, but it's going to cost them in the long run because already within the first quarter of Warlords, they lost 3 million players. I have not seen the figures for the second quarter, which the end of it is coming up here pretty soon in like a month and a half, I think. Uh, but I'm going to guess that Blizzard's lost even more. And they're probably going to lose even more after everyone has become aware that 6.2 is it. Um, but what I was going to say about the time walking dungeons is they're boring. Um, there's almost nothing random about them, even though they're supposed to be random dungeons. But they're boring. They're boring. What happened is I wound up getting Arcatraz over and over and over again, and at level in Burning Crusade, that was one of the hardest heroic dungeons to get through. And I noticed that nearly every dungeon, excuse me, nearly every time I ran one, what happened was people would leave. People would get in, realize, oh, this is hard, and then they would leave. There was a wipe every time I ran one. There was not a single time I went into a time walking dungeon where there was no problems, and it was perfectly smooth. Now, that's actually a good thing. It's a good sign to me that people are having problems in dungeons. But that's not something that happens anywhere else. I don't know anyone who's been into a mythic dungeon where they had no problems at all. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know anyone who's been to a mythic dungeon where they wiped over again because it's basically a heroic dungeon with the mobs having a little bit more health. That's all it winds up being. Um, but yeah, people wiped in time walking dungeons, and they just stopped doing it. Ahun this year, because Midsummer's still going on, it's about the same thing. There's no issues with running it, and it's a free cloak. And time walking dungeons were supposed to work out and be wonderful, but no one did them because several of them were too goddamn difficult. So either you had the option of doing something that people are not going to stay for because it's too hard, even though all indications were that it would be easily sellable by people, and there were people who I know who did manage to solo it on the PTR. It sends a confusing message, and part of that message is Blizzard not intending to add more dungeons. They're going to go back and revamp other ones and make them harder. Okay, so what? So what? Add new content. That's what Blizzard needs to be doing. They have, I think it's 131 people right now who are actually working on World of Warcraft. That is the most people that have ever worked on anything with this game ever, and we're getting nothing as players. We're getting no new dungeons. Hellfire to the Death, it. No new battlegrounds, no new arenas, and that's it. And it's sad, and it hurts my feelings, and I think it hurts a lot of people's feelings, and it's going to wind up costing Blizzard. I really hate to say that, but it's going to hurt them in the end because we're just not getting anything, and players are going to be dissatisfied. And when more people realize, like I said, 6.2 is it, that's going to cause more of a problem. I mean, honestly, what is everyone left to do now? I mean, I wish I could say that this was not Blizzard, trying to get money. I really do. But the problem with that is that we've had a grand total of 8 months of Warlords of Draenor, and we have had not one, but two new store mounts added in. That's one roughly every 2 months. I mean, 4 months. 4 months. I'm sorry, 4 months. And that seems to be a pattern that Blizzard has been kept going. Every 4 to 6 months, there's a new store mount, and the latest one, every promotional image of it showed it flying in Draenor. Well, we couldn't do that, and then all of a sudden, look, we can fly in Draenor. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but I mean, who really wants to pay $25 for a store mount? Who wants to pay $60 to boost a character? Who wants to pay $20 a month to play the game? And now, that's something that a lot of people have overlooked. When you get like a time card to play the game, it's only 15. But excuse me, something that went along with the announcement of the token, the time token being added in the game, was just a subtle hint that prices were going to be raised 10%. 10% in Europe, 10% in Asia. And that wound up being snuck in the United States too. The game is now more expensive to buy outright, and it's more expensive to play every month. But you typically don't notice it because they've hidden it. Now, if you're buying the WoW tokens, whether you're buying it with real money or you're buying it with in-game gold, you're still effectively giving Blizzard $20 a month. $20 a month for you to be able to play. So 2 new store mounts for $25 each. An extra $5 to buy something to play with, and that's about it. Other than that, you're not getting very much. If you're playing Hearthstone, they've kind of done the same thing. They've added in $10 to buy new hero skins. Now, they're awesome and beautiful and everything, but that's it. They don't do anything for you. Excuse me. And that's what you're getting with World of Warcraft. 131 people have come together and told you the best that they can do for you, the people who make sure that they have clothes on their back and have a home to go to and have food to eat, is that those 131 people can do nothing more than an Apex's mission daily grind. They can do nothing more than go here and find these treasures. They can do nothing more than a single battleground that holds 80 people and doesn't work. But you get Twitter added into the game. You get, the experience of doing all of this stuff. You get to have the fun of not even having a need to be in a guild or interact with other people in a multiplayer game, because you can do everything in your garrison. No one needs to have a profession anymore because you can get everything you need to make it yourself in your garrison. You don't even need to go out and quest anymore because you can have your followers do it. And now they've added in the naval table, which, excuse me, the shipyard, I have seen nothing but complaints about, because not only is it the exact same thing as your command table, but it takes even longer to do it. And the thing is, Blizzard's aware of that. They're fully well aware of how long it takes. And Corey even mentions it in the interview. They don't give a shit. They don't really seem to care. But no, really, they don't seem to care at all. I mean, they're not going to fix the mission timers, to where you have to, where you do a mission that your followers can do in 8 hours, and then all of a sudden, here's, these 2 ships that you're going to, that you have a 50-50 chance of losing unless you have a 100% success rate, and it's going to take you 2 days to get a piece of gear, a single piece of gear. 2 days. Now, that's fine for people who want to play the game that way, but 3 million people leaving because of that reason alone is it's pitiful, and that seems to be what we're going to keep getting the rest of this expansion. Is the exact same thing force fed to us for X amount of time. And I don't know about you, but that kind of hurts my feelings. It makes me angry because I like this game. This is my favorite game ever. I love playing World of Warcraft. I love being in a guild. I love interacting with other people. But this expansion thus far seems to have entirely killed that, and that's not cool. And I would like there to be some sign somewhere that Warlords of Draenor is not going to be an expansion of sadness and lack of hope. But that's what we're getting, apparently. But the good news is, and by the way, if you're a lore junkie and you don't want to hear this, now is the time to stop listening. Assuming you've made it all the way through that rant, there is a good thing that I discovered, and I'm not going to ever tell her directly unless she watches this. But Danny helped me realize what Blizzard seems to be doing, at least lore-wise. Earlier, I mentioned that Archimonde is effectively dead, but it's important to know this because it means that every possible reality is tied together, and that means that all the plot holes are going to get filled in. And if you look back at the past expansions, you've seen there seems to be a story. The Titans are obviously there, the Legion's obviously there, but the Dragonflights are no longer there to help protect Azeroth from all these possible threats because they took out Deathwing. The aspects lost their powers. So that means that if Archimonde is actually still here, and it's the exact same one, he never dies, and he's able to interact with all versions of possible reality, that means Azeroth is basically doomed. And we're probably going to have the same issue that Draenor had originally and be ripped apart. Now, that's kind of a frightening concept, but at the same time, it's pretty cool to realize that that might be where we're headed. That might wind up being the actual end of the game. It may be the next expansion, we wind up having to do stuff like fight the Legion, or the Shadow Council may show up on Azeroth and may start ripping the planet apart, or nothing may happen at all. I don't know. But just listening to the interview with Corey Stockton made me stop and think, there's got to be something else. There has to be something else. Because Blizzard's discussed before that there were multiple things that were going to be in Warlords of Draenor that they cut because it did not fall in line with the story. And if you've watched the end of the expansion cinematic, the one where Archimonde quote-unquote dies and he kills or banishes Gul'dan and whatever, and Khadgar says, there's no way it's over, that has to mean something. There has to be a reason that Warlords is not getting anything else added to it, at least right now. And that means either we're going to be stuck, with the same miserable content for at least a year, or Blizzard already has something planned. And that's really that is the best thing that I was able to get out of that entire interview, is that there might actually be something else coming that none of us can see. And I'm hoping secretly that I'm right. I'm really hoping that, the idea that all the realities are connected means that there's some overarching storyline that most players had missed. And the Burning Legion will come back, and the Titans will come back, and we'll get all of our hopes and dreams that we've ever had for World of Warcraft entirely fulfilled. And that's where I'm going to leave this off, because it's a hopeful thing. It gives me a reason to still want to play, even though I have been severely disappointed multiple times in this match. Even though I'm, not the only one who's had the same level of disappointment, I'm looking forward to what Blizzard may have coming next. And yeah, that's that's really where I want to leave, because it's a positive thing to take away. But thank you if you listened to this whole rant. Um, if you have, a differing opinion, or you want to sign with me, whatever, leave it in a comment. Uh, Most importantly, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe this video. Let Blizzard know what you think. Don't just parrot what I've said, even though you're more than welcome to. But tell them what your opinion is, because the only way we're going to find out is if we're vocal. Blizzard does listen to the players, even though this interview seems to indicate that they don't. Um, so yeah, uh, I'm excited, sort of, I guess. Uh, but that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you if you listened to the whole thing. But uh, yeah, Saturday show's coming up, and that's really going to be it. And next week, the Wednesday show will be back, so keep an eye out for that. Um, that's it, really. Thanks, and have a great night.